Hello, hello, and welcome to I've Been Cooking, the podcast that brings flavors from kitchens around the world right into your ears. Whether you're a seasoned chef or just looking to spice up your weekly menu, this is the place for recipe inspiration, cooking tips, and mouthwatering stories from the culinary world. I'm Andrea, your host, and every week we'll dive into delicious dishes, explore surprising food facts, and bring you step-by-step guides to make each recipe easy and fun. We'll hear from food lovers, professional chefs, and maybe even someone who's burnt a casserole or two. Here, every recipe has a story, and every story starts with a love for good food. So grab your apron, set those timers, and get ready to cook up something amazing. Because here at I've Been Cooking, it's always mealtime somewhere. Let's get started.
Okay, so how about this for a dessert that sounds a little different?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of Aseeda before?
Aseeda. I can't say that I have.
Well, get ready, because we're going to sprinkle a little brittle on it and see what we get.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a recipe that I found, and I got to say, it piqued my interest.
Well, let's dive in. What is Aseeda?
Right, so the recipe describes it as this, staple comfort food in a bunch of Arabic countries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Yemen, Sudan, Libya, places like that. And the thing is, it's all about keeping it simple, like wheat flour, water, salt. That's it.
That's it?
That's it. Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, and that simplicity actually tells you a lot about where it comes from. I mean, we're talking about regions where people had to be resourceful, right?
Yeah.
Aseeda, it's more than just food. It's like ingenuity you can actually taste.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and in a lot of these cultures, Aseeda is really closely tied to celebrations. Like, you go to Sudan during Ramadan, Aseeda is gonna be on the table.
Huh.
So it's like the culinary equivalent of a warm hug, but with centuries of history baked in. I love it.
Yeah.
Although, I gotta admit, it's the brittle part of this recipe that really got me hooked.
Really? Why is that?
Well, because, come on. It's not every day you see those two words together. Aseeda Brittle? It's like, what is that?
That's true. You don't hear that every day. And it is a pretty bold move. Like, you're taking something as traditional and, let's be honest, kind of humble as Aseeda, and then you go and give it this modern textural twist. And the recipe really goes all out with the wow factor.
Right.
Caramelized almonds, a hint of cardamom. It really makes you rethink what brittle can even be. Right. So we've got this comforting, almost ancient base, and on top of that, we're going to layer this crunchy, modern topping. I don't know, it just sounds like an interesting mix of textures. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
And that's got to be where the magic happens, right? You get the chewy Aseeda playing off the crunch of the brittle.
That's exactly it. It's kind of like, when a chef really nails the mouthfeel of a dish? This is like that. It's not just about how it tastes, but about that whole experience you get in your mouth.
Okay, now I'm ready to take a bite. But before we get ahead of ourselves, how about we talk about actually making this thing? It's a 3-step process from what I see, am I right?
You got it. And while the steps themselves seem simple enough, the recipe makes it clear there's a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
Especially with the Aseeda. Yeah, you really want to get that perfect consistency. Smooth, almost elastic looking. It's almost like you're coaxing it into a pudding-like texture, not just mixing stuff together.
This is where I'd be sweating over the stove. Making sure I don't mess it up.
I feel you.
Especially since there's ghee involved. And honestly, ghee is not something I just have lying around in my pantry.
Ghee. Now, that's an ingredient worth talking about. It's basically clarified butter, and it's huge EE in Middle Eastern and South Asian cooking. It adds this amazing, nutty, almost toasted flavor that you just can't get from regular butter.
Okay, so we're not just talking about any old butter substitute here. This stuff is key.
Exactly. I think it actually bridges the Aseeda and those bolder flavors in the brittle. The cardamom, those caramelized almonds. Ghee brings them all together without getting lost in the mix. Subtle, but so important.
You know what else really struck me about this recipe? That closing paragraph. The one that talks about Aseeda Brittle being like a cultural bridge.
Oh.
I thought that was a cool way to put it. What do you think?
No, totally. It really gets at something special about food, doesn't it? Like, it's this way to connect with another culture, on a deeper level.
Totally.
You're tasting history, tradition, and suddenly you're curious about things you might never have even thought about before.
Right. You know what? I'm already planning a trip to that spice shop downtown to pick up some cardamom.
I love it.
Seriously. This whole recipe has me thinking about all the other crazy food mashups that are out there just waiting to be discovered.
Oh, for sure. Imagine, a classic bread pudding, but then you mix in some miso paste for this savory thing.
Whoa. Okay, no, that's an idea.
Right. Or how about traditional rice pudding, but you infuse it with, like, passion fruit, that tangy, tropical vibe. The possibilities are endless.
Okay, my stomach is officially growling. But in all seriousness, what would you say is the main takeaway for our listeners who are feeling inspired right now?
Don't be afraid to get creative in the kitchen. That's it. Be curious about different cultures, try new flavor combinations, get a little weird with it. Who knows, you might discover your new favorite dessert.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Push those culinary boundaries, people. Expand those palates. And hey, maybe you'll even discover a new favorite ingredient along the way. Now, for all you listeners out there, we want to hear from you. What traditional dish from your own heritage would you love to see get the Aseeda Brittle treatment?
Ooh, good question.
Head on over to our social media and let us know. We can't wait to see what you come up with. Until next time, happy cooking.
Hi, it's Jamie, and if you enjoyed today's episode of I've Been Cooking, we'd love for you to share it. Leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new recipe. Do you know someone who loves cooking as much as you do? Send this episode their way. And hey, let's stay connected. You can find us on Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook at I've Been Cooking. Tag us to show off your creations and join a community of food lovers worldwide. And if you want to chat with us directly, we're always hanging out on Discord. You'll find the link to join in the footer of our website at ivebeen.cooking. Until next time.